Want to talk to, oh my goodness, Jake from Texas. Jake from Texas, you are next on Truth Wanted. What is going on?
Hey guys, thanks so much for taking my call. I just wanted to do a friendly quick disclaimer. I have ADHD. If I ramble, be like, "Hey Jake," and interrupt me at any given time. And then
Will do, Jake.
Thing I was gonna, yeah. And the second thing I was gonna ask is, or state, is I 7 years ago was a seminary student. 2 years in, took all my foreign languages, dropped out of seminary for money reasons, and then eventually deconverted. Mostly actually through, it started with Anthony's channel, and I actually remember. I don't know if at that time, Dan, if you had already deconverted, but I remember seeing that episode before you had been involved in the show. And so just wanted to thank you guys for demonstrating doxastic openness. It was really, it's probably the most fundamental thing for me as far as not just atheism, because people can arrive at different stuff all the time, but just actually critically evaluating, because I would, in hindsight, consider myself very doxastically closed.
Well, thank you so much, Jake.
Stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind. It's definitely Anthony doing the brunt of the work there. Like I said, he's been on this for a while. So props to him. If it wasn't for him, neither of us would be having this conversation. So please, by all means, go ahead with your question.
Yeah. So Converse, one, in relation to my main thing is, I guess the bullet point, and we can decide which direction we want to go. Mine is capitalism's selling point is equality of opportunity, but I believe that it's failing, and that socialism or social programs that border on socialism is the most persuasive answer to that problem. And the second part is, I have tried to have this conversation with my father, mostly just to discuss worldview. And I think I have found it difficult he is a particular example of difficult people who are he's smart enough to identify that a question has a certain directions that you're trying to point. And the mere question often makes him angry. And so it's just this huge doxastically closed event where it's like you can almost, I know he's smarter than the things that he argues and gets upset about. He just, it's hard to model for him what that looks like when I think certain types of people, especially ones that you care about, feel the freedom to kind of kick up dust and be rude, or maybe they know street epistemology enough to be like, haha, you're not going to trick me. And so I guess that's my twofold thing. We can kind of pick which way we want to go on that.
Definitely. So I saw that the call screener, mostly they focused on just attempting SE conversations with your father and father being guarded. So, and for the sake of time, because we have other callers too, I think we should focus on that. So, Anthony, do you have, any thoughts on that?
I do. Yeah. So whenever I run, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, if I've noticed that they become defensive or they're guarded about the whole process where you're questioning their views in the first place, that's usually the indication to me that I need to actually take a step back and go broader. So rather than talking about capitalism or socialism or politics, I've found that it could be useful to just have broader conversations about, what does it mean to be wrong? Or when was the last time that you changed your mind? Were there advantages to changing your mind? Or what was that process like? Was it painful? Where you're talking about beliefs in general, and you're not even talking about a specific claim. It's a meta discussion about belief formation and belief revision. And sometimes when the person is explaining how they think about belief revision and belief change, or those types of broader concepts, they start bringing up topics to help explain how they traverse that difficulty or something along those lines. And then that could be a really good entry point to actually talking about a subject, but now you're looking at through the lens of this larger concept. I found that really helpful. So that's a really good tip, I think, for your viewers, not just yourself, Jake, but if you're talking to somebody and you're getting stuck, you're probably too narrowly focused. Take a big step back and even ask yourself, what are my goals? And you can even share your goals. Like, Dad, I really like talking with people. to explore their reasoning and how they're so sure, and is their confidence justified, and all these types of things. And it really takes the pressure off of both of you, because now you're not talking about these really sensitive topics and you're talking in broader terms. You might want to give that a try.
It's such an excellent tip.
Thank you.
Excellent tip. Yeah. So many people go into conversations and they think, if I haven't changed this person's mind by the end of this conversation, then I have failed somehow, or that it wasn't a worthwhile conversation. But that is not true in the slightest. In fact, I never go into a conversation, especially on this show, with the intention of knowing that by the end of the call, somebody's going to completely change their mind. It was actually really funny. If you watched last episode of Atheist Experience, Matt had talked to a guy, and the guy at the end of the call was like, okay, yeah, you're right, I was wrong. And I was like, that's really funny, because that literally never happens. Like 99% of the time, that doesn't happen, right? Because as humans, we're just naturally just very defensive, and we have to kind of think things through on our own time sometimes outside of a conversation to really fully understand what we're looking at. So Anthony's point is excellent. Sometimes you have to take it away, even if it's a subject you're really interested in talking about. You have to kind of pull back a bit and see, okay, what's the bigger picture here? What's the methodologies being used? Can we talk about those methodologies? Can we talk about what it means to have a justified belief, right? And see where that takes you. Excellent advice.
You can have the best questions lined up and ready to go because you watched all these SE videos and you know the typical path, right? You get to the claim, you figure out the real reason, you assess how they're checking the quality of that reason. But what tends to happen is we forget some of the basics. Like, do I have trust with this person? Is there some bridge building that needs to happen before we even have a discussion? Do we need to start more broad and maybe start narrowing in? Because sometimes I think this happens too much. We want to start on the claim before the legwork has been done beforehand. And sometimes you have a relationship with somebody where you can just get right to the claim and start hitting them with questions. But many times, like if you're noticing resistance, that's usually the indication that you're not ready yet. Like there's some work that you need to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you're right, because literally every engagement I've had thus far has been like when the questions start getting asked, and usually I try to be as neutral as possible. I think at one point was like, he just kind of got flustered and was like, I think you think I'm stupid. And I was like, no, Dad, like I just told you, like, this is what I like doing. And I think maybe there's also some just modeling behavior that I have traditionally avoided, which is cropping up to be difficult.
Yeah, because if you start talking if you've never done SE with somebody before, or you don't have a history of doing it with that person, and suddenly you start talking like somebody that does SE, like it's noticeably different, right? So it sounds like, oh, this person, they got a thing here, right? They've got like a studied thing, and they're trying to flip something on you. That's what I thought when I first talked with Anthony.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my assumption.
Yeah,
I was like, what's going on here? Like,
but I was out there with a camera, and the rumors on campus were that I was out there and all this stuff. So yeah, sometimes there's like you have to do a little damage control, and like you can just say like just reveal everything that you're doing. Just be honest and transparent.
Yeah.
Like if you do that and be authentic, like, yeah, Dad, like I think that we really diverge on these interesting points. I really want to understand what you're thinking. I have some really hard questions I want to ask you, but I feel like we're not ready to get there yet. Like, what would we need to, you can even discuss it with them. What do you think we need to do to get to the point where you would actually start to trust me and really ponder the questions that I have and listen to him? He may give you some suggestions that he himself will entertain.
Definitely. But Jake, that's all the time I want to spend on this call, because we do have some other callers I want to get to. Thank you so much for your questions. And good luck to you, sir. And congratulations on figuring out that path, because, I was in it. I was like, on campus, part of a Christian group doing that thing. I didn't go to seminary school, though. I feel like that's the next level that I might have gone down. But props to you for saying, hey, I actually can't vibe with this anymore, because that's hard. That is a hard thing to do. And, props to you for making that decision.